FitzPatrick, a health education expert. And her topic today is keeping the secret of dementia and why it's bad. 433-9782. Actually, if you have a question, call our backup number, 437-4879. Jennifer, welcome to the Mike Schikman Show. It's a joy to have you.
Thanks so much, Mike. Glad to be here.
This is a serious issue because the dementia numbers keep rising, and we're actually seeing even, instead of old age dementia, we're actually even seeing early onset dementia now.
Yeah, so there's about 5 million cases of Alzheimer's disease, and then on top of that, there's all these other dementias, Lewy body dementia, frontotemporal dementia, so that's even many more people with those types of dementias. And some of the ones are, like you said, younger onset, that people get them in their 50s or even in their early 60s.
Jennifer, by the way, is the founder of Generations Health Education. She's a gerontology instructor at Johns Hopkins, and she's the author of a new book, Cruising Through Caregiving, Reducing the Stress of Caring for Your Loved One. Jennifer, I have to tell you that there are certain diseases and there are certain issues that people still whisper about. You know, my parents' generation, we used to, my brother and I used to laugh because they talk about heart attacks, they talk about almost everything, but cancer was whispered.
Right,
and now dementia is also one of those whispered things, even more than cancer.
Absolutely. Well, we've made so much progress with cancer. We have remission and we have lots of treatments. And unfortunately, with irreversible dementias like Alzheimer's disease, we don't have remission. We don't have any cure. And we have some medicines that offer some moderate help with symptoms. But if you're diagnosed with an irreversible dementia, it's a slow decline. And people feel like they don't want to tell their friends sometimes. They don't want to tell family. They want to try to behave as though it's not happening. And that can be really dangerous.
Unfortunately, for the most part, for someone who knows the victim, dementia is pretty easy to figure out. If you really know them.
If you really know them, you'd be surprised because a lot of families, even spouses, they're in denial. They see the changes. And you would think that they would know, but sometimes they just, she's just getting older. We're all getting forgetful. And for some people that actually have an irreversible dementia, for some people, the first signs are actually not memory loss.
Really? What are they?
Yeah, for example, for Lewy body dementia, which we believe that Robin Williams died from, some of that is more, personality changes, acting, just not being yourself, being different. For some people, it might be, for example, you're on the East Coast too. It's been so rainy and it's felt like a wet November lately. It hasn't really felt like spring. This time of year, it's hard to tell, but say you're in the middle of winter and someone goes out in summer clothing. For some people, that's a first symptom. It's not really memory loss.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. The other thing about dementia and Alzheimer's is it doesn't seem to really care about who it hits. It hits some of the most brilliant people. It hits some of the not so brilliant people. And memory goes back. The joke was always, if you can't find your car keys, that's old age. If you don't know what your car keys are for, that's dementia.
Well, that's actually a good rule of thumb because everybody can remember that. If somebody really doesn't remember what they need a car key for, then yeah, that's probably normal aging. We all do that. But if you genuinely don't know why you need the car key, so yeah, that's actually a really good way to remember it. Then you should get checked. If you have a loved one who doesn't know what the car key is for, get checked out. Go to the doctor. Because the thing about it is sometimes, believe it or not, you can have symptoms of dementia and it can be reversible. Some people have, for example, older adults, especially somebody in their 70s and 80s or older, they might have the symptoms of dementia like memory loss and some confusion, and it actually can be depression.
You kind of dropped out. Drug addiction?
I'm sorry, depression.
Depression, okay.
Yeah, so sometimes if you're in your 70s or 80s and you've got some memory loss or you've got some confusion or you're not acting quite like yourself, it might look like dementia, but if you go to the doctor, sometimes they look at you and they determine it could be a B12 deficiency. It could be depression. It could be a medicine side effect. So you never want to jump to the conclusion that, oh gosh, I have Alzheimer's.
Well, the fact if you can answer the question, I wonder if I have Alzheimer's, is probably a good sign that you don't.
Well,
because that's a pretty intense thought. This is Alzheimer's.
Well, it's actually a lot of people in the early stages that are just like you and me most of the time. If you've seen the movie Still Alice with Julianne Moore, she won an Academy Award for it. She was an example of young onset, and she knew enough. Of course, it was a fictional character, but I've worked with lots of patients over the years. They knew enough to go to the doctor. I'm not myself. So I know what you're saying. Like, if you're asking the question, that it maybe doesn't, maybe it means there's not a problem. But believe it or not, some people, they really do, in the early stages, they do think, gosh, I'm not myself anymore.
There is a great fear among us that we will not be able to be independent as we age, that we will be put in the trust of strangers as caretakers. And that sometimes precludes us from having the kind of conversations that we should be having with friends, family especially.
But no adult wants to be taken care of by somebody else. Everyone wants to maintain their independence. So, yeah, I think people avoid having these conversations. And when they are diagnosed, if they actually do have a diagnosis of Alzheimer's or one of the other dementias, that's one of the reasons that a lot of families, they agree to keep it a secret, and that's a big mistake, because when in my book Cruising Through Caregiving, one of the things that we talk about is how important it is to have lots of people helping out when someone in your family or friend network is sick. It's really never a job for one person, and dementia, that's especially true.
Jennifer, how did you get interested in all this?
Oh, wow. Well, I started working in a nursing home when I was 16 years old.
Holy cow, doing what?
Yeah, well, I was a receptionist on weekends and evenings, and I actually, as I stayed when I was in college, I would come back on college breaks, and one of the things that I would do is work in the activities department. And yeah, so then, I'm 43 now, going to be 43, and I've spent pretty much most of my career in some way involved with older adults.
It can be a joyful situation, but most often it can be a heartbreaking situation. Especially, there are so many families that once their family members in the nursing home say bye-bye baby, and kind of cut them off because they're dementia, they don't know.
Well, one of the things I always try to help families remember is when you go to visit your loved one at a nursing home or at assisted living, if they have dementia, don't try to have. You and I are having a conversation right now, Mike. Mm-hmm. You don't want to try to do that with someone with advanced dementia. What you want to do is you want to do something with them. Take a walk. Listen to music that they like. Like, if they're religious, listen to religious music. If they like, baseball, put on the baseball game. Look at old photographs. But I think what the mistake that a lot of families and loved ones make is they go in and they want to have a conversation, and they want to say, Mom, how was your day? Mom, if she has advanced dementia, she's not going to even understand that question. But if you put on, say, Casablanca, and you start watching it together, assuming that that's a film that she likes, that's probably how you're going to connect better than having a conversation.
It's ironic. I discovered my aunt's brain tumor by putting on a film of her childhood home, that my mother, who grew up in the same home, it was just, gushing over. She remembered this and this and this and this, and my aunt had no idea what anything was.
Really?
And I told her eldest, I said, take your mother to a neurologist immediately. There is something seriously wrong. And unfortunately, it was, and it's too late to do anything. But but memories are there are so many, and some of them are so pinpoint that, and we all forget a lot of them. Sometimes it just takes a trigger to remember.
Sure.
But as you were talking about Casablanca, sometimes, I've seen musical studies where if you play some of the music of their youth, these people will kind of wake up a little bit. They'll get excited.
It sounds like you really get it. That's very true. Music, anything from, and what you described with your aunt, that usually doesn't happen with Alzheimer's and other types of dementia, because usually that long-term memory is pretty intact, and that's why stuff like music from their youth is going to penetrate that brain, and it's going to get in there, and it's going to, sort of wake that person up, so to speak.
Jennifer, your book is coming out in September, correct?
Yep.
And that's Cruising Through Caregiving, Reducing the Stress of Caring for Your Loved One. Where can people find out more about you and your work?
I'm on Twitter at FitzPatrickJen, or you can go to JenniferFitzPatrick.com.
It is a real joy chatting with you, and let's get you back when your book comes out. We can give you a little bit of a jolt on that one.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Jennifer, a real joy. Thank you very, very much. Jennifer FitzPatrick joining us today on WSBA. Coming up next, we've got Your Money and then a look at news from CBS.
I'm Frank Miller with Your Money Now. Well, after months
expert, and her topic today is keeping the secret of dementia and why it's bad. 433-9782. Actually, if you have a question, call our backup number